afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here in the 21 Alive Plus studio. Meg Rossler here with reporter Samantha Condra. And Sam, I think pretty much it's safe to say everyone knows, as if you've been online watching your TV pretty much anywhere out and about these days, everyone knows that Election Day is tomorrow. So we are trying to get people ready for everything that the big day entails. I mean, a lot of people are already, past that point of even voting. You were down at the Rousseau Center earlier today, and I believe there were some pretty long lines, you said, right?
Yes, it was all morning long. I got there probably around 10:30-ish, and all morning long, the line was completely wrapped around the Rousseau Center building. And for those of you that know how large the Rousseau Center is, it was crazy all morning long. I talked to several people who said they had been in line for 2 hours, an hour and a half. They had gotten in line at like 9 a.m. and had to wait until about noon when it closed to vote. They let everybody in line still vote as long as you were in line before noon, but some people had to wait well after noon to get that voted.
That's just some of the video of it that we have playing right there. And that was at around what time, 10:30 this morning?
Yeah, around 10:30, 11 was when I took a lot of that video,
And like watching the video too, like you said, wrapped around the entire building is pretty crazy to think about, especially since early voting has been going on. And the lines have looked like this for a lot of the early voting days too, which is just crazy to think about. But I know what you're focusing on today is obviously there's so much chatter around everything. We want to just make sure everyone in 21 country in the area is ready for that big vote tomorrow if you haven't already participated in early voting. So Sam, when it comes to what time the polls are opening tomorrow, the general information, if you want to just take us through what some of that's going to look like tomorrow on Election Day.
Yeah, statewide, the hours are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at all polling locations. You can find your polling location at indianavoter.in.gov. If you don't know where exactly you have to go to vote, but yeah, every location, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. nationwide, doesn't matter what county from 21 country you live in, those are going to be the times that you can head out.
And it's something new this year too that we're not 100% sure whether it's a website or an app, but it's some online information where you can look at polling location lines currently. Yes. Is that true?
Yeah, the website is intechforprogress.org. It is whenever you click on the link, it takes you to a website, and there's a place where you can go to click waiting times at the voting center. So if you click that, you can see who has put in the information to let you know if they're waiting in line, how long they've waited in line. So if you want to maybe avoid the big lines and be like, okay, it's looking like the wait's a little too long, maybe I'll wait a little longer to head to the polls, you can do that.
I think that's a super interesting part to note too, because obviously this is, the last election, like presidential election, because that's when the big ones, come around. I don't remember there being anything like this with being able to, it reminds me of Disney World. Like you can track the lines at Disney World, but I just think that's such a good use of like technology and making sure. I know a lot of motives have been to get people out there and voting, and sometimes lines is something that deters people.
Yeah.
So being able to see what the current lines are looking like, I think is something super helpful for a lot of voters, especially in this election season. But also a couple of different ride service options, because again, getting to the polls can be difficult for people too. So anything you want to note about special, services, ride options for tomorrow?
Yeah, the two free options, Northeast Indiana Now has a QR code that you can scan. It takes you to the Uber app. And I think it gives it $25 off if I look right, which most Ubers aren't that expensive. So
you hope most Ubers aren't that expensive.
Right, you hope most Ubers aren't that expensive. But I scanned the QR code and it took me, and it is very easy to use to be able to get to the polls. And we have that QR code on our website, so you can go scan it on there. And then CityLink is also offering free fare to voters. So if you're by a bus stop, you can hop on a CityLink bus, and then Uber and Lyft are 50% off for Election Day.
Again, somewhat newer things that I think is so helpful that things are offering. Something I did not see this last presidential election. It was during slightly COVID years, so things were definitely operating different during the last presidential election season. But I just think these are really good things that a lot of times people probably wouldn't know about unless those promotions are really put out there and people are aware that your voice needs to be heard, and everyone should get out there and vote, and everyone wants you to be able to get out there and vote. I mean, Uber and Lyft and all of those programs I think are super awesome. But Sam, is there anything else you want to note for us about, your day down at the Rousseau Center from earlier? Any interesting people you talked to in line, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that were telling me that it was just absolutely madness. They did not expect it. Here in the video, you can see the people.
I forgot I put that video in.
That are playing heads up in the line. So, being resourceful with your phones in line, trying to pass the time. That was the only people that I saw playing games, which I was surprised by. A lot of other people were just talking, chatting. A lot of people I could see were getting to know each other in the line. So maybe someone made a friend, waiting in line to get into the polls.
Kind of like seeing that community aspect of it. I think it's definitely a fun part to add. But Sam, I know you're going to be getting ready for our evening newscast and putting all that stuff together, giving us a live report down from the Rousseau Center again?
Yes, I'll be live from the Rousseau
Early
Center.
voting did wrap up around noon today still, but obviously they're going to be getting ready for, a lot of that preparation for tomorrow. But Sam, thanks so much for joining us. And thanks for everyone who hopped on here today. Again, for any other information on Election Day whereabouts, where your polling locations are, how to look at current polling location lines and getting potentially free rides down to polling stations, all of that information will be on our website at 21alivenews.com. And for more information, you can tune into Sam's stories tonight on our evening newscasts. All right, thanks everyone so much. Have a good evening.